Back everybody to MCOC, AlBundyRules. So I get a lot of questions and I see a lot of comments in a variety of areas, from global to forums to Facebook to Reddit, you name it, people asking about prestige. So I decided to do a video specifically discussing prestige today. I really have it broken down by 4 parts, so I recommend hanging tuned for all 4 parts if this is something of curiosity. So I've broken down to what is prestige. I have it broken down for why can prestige be important, how do you know what your prestige is, and how do you increase your prestige? Overall, how does this affect you? What does this mean? And does it affect you depending on where you're at in the game? So that's how I have this really broken down. Let's start off with what is prestige. And with prestige, we're going to see my prestige right over here, currently 10,891, which is not that high for an endgame player. However, I will explain why as we go, but I've never really focused on prestige rank ups. As anyone who's seen my R3s will know, I do not really worry about prestige much because I'm not competitive in the game. Prestige is the average base hero rating of your top 5 champs. Something you need to understand. These numbers you see right now in my champs, you see my Venom the Duck 16250, that is my PI or power index. That is not my prestige. It is not the same thing. Please understand, it is not the same thing. You will see those numbers go up based on masteries, based on synergies. That is not your prestige. Change in your prestige is kind of just, I'm going to say, a random number assigned by Kabam, and it stays the same way set. The only way to get that prestige to increase is through a variety of ways I'm going to discuss. But the masteries and stuff do not change the prestige. It just changes your power index, which really has no real meaning in the game. So prestige, all champs have assigned prestige to them. There are charts I'm going to mention that will help you see what the champ prestiges are. Some have very high, some have very low prestige. No, prestige does not mean that the champ is good. Some good champs have high prestige. Some great champs have horrible prestige. Some horrible champs have great prestige. Prestige has nothing to do with how good the champion is. Masteries do not affect the prestige. Once again, masteries will affect that PI number you see to include in this profile. That is not the prestige. It is not always one and the same. These 4 champs you see in my profile right now, these are my highest power index champs. They are not necessarily my highest prestige champs. In fact, I know for a fact they're not all my highest prestige champs, and I will show you how I know that in a moment. Your prestige is based off your top 5 champs. So we could see 4 in my profile here. There will be a 5th one. So everything outside of the top 5 prestige champs has no real bearing on my prestige unless they overcome to become a top 5 through rank ups, sig, things like that. So the other ones, it's the average of the top 5. So you take all the top 5, you find the average of the 5, and that is your prestige. So it's really the rating minus masteries is what your prestige pretty much is going to be. Prestige main role is really about AQ. Unless you're competitive in AQ, prestige shouldn't bother you. If you're a fairly new member, you're kind of a chill alliance, prestige should not be something you're concerned about. If you're competitive, you're trying to get higher AQ rewards, you're trying to get the alliance to get better AQ rewards and glory, then prestige is something you want to care about, but your whole alliance has to care about it. One person is not going to make a big difference in an alliance. It needs to be everybody. Simply put, the starting prestige of the whole alliance can increase AQ difficulty as well as AQ points, which is why you'll see some higher alliances say certain minimum requirements for prestige. That's because that's going to get more rewards. If those high alliances competitive in AQ accept a low level prestige, well, that's going to hurt them as a whole. So why it's important, prestige is only important if you for alliances or if you focus on AQ rewards. If you're pretty mellow or pretty relaxed on that, then it's not going to be that big of a difference. For higher end players who need the glory, it is going to be a bigger deal. So I'm going to show you right over here. So here's my alliance information. We're going to see right here on the prestige. So my alliance's starting prestige is 11,435. What does that mean? That means we can get much higher rewards because of a higher prestige level as a whole. In fact, this specific alliance hits around the top 800 with only doing map 5. I've been in alliances in the past that might do 3 days of all 3 battle group map 6 and not even hit the top 800 because they had such a lower prestige. So that higher prestige makes it easier for you to compete higher rewards. That's why it can be important, which means could be higher difficulty, but it also means higher level rewards, higher glory, more out of that glory store. And the glory store is a great way to get some extremely important resources, even including T5C now. We got T5B, all that good stuff. So it is important to understand why it's like that. So now you want to know, how do you know what your prestige is? So the easiest way to tell you how you know what your prestige is going to be right here looking at your profile, and you're going to see right there 10,891 would be my prestige. The big thing though, understanding this, is again, these numbers you see assigned here are not necessary, is not my prestige. That's including masteries. Those numbers will go up based on different masteries, so it's important to understand that. This only shows you overall account prestige and not individual champs. The only way you're going to see your actual prestige per individual champ on this game is if you reset your complete masteries. You take all mastery points off, don't have any synergies going, look at your champs, that will show you what the prestige is. Obviously, you don't want to do that all the time because it takes units to get the masteries back in there. So there are other ways to include a site I'm going to mention. It's a very commonly used way to check prestige, do calculations like that. The numbers you see next to the champs, and again, this is just the power index. Something like Suicide Masteries will make these numbers go way higher. That doesn't mean it's higher prestige against Power Index, which includes Masteries, which has no real meaning. It can also throw things off. For example, I have some Mystic Dispersion here. So that's going to put my Mystics higher level on this current view, because this current view does not account, it does account for my masteries. If you were to look at my count right now, these are not the same 4 champs you would see, and I'm going to show you in a moment what I mean by that. I'm going to log in with my mini account and show you what my prestige is with my mini. When you look at it from another account, you're going to see different champs on here, because when you look at someone else's account, you actually see their top 4 highest prestige champs. When I look at my own account, I see my top 4 highest PI. Again, not the same thing. And then we go into, we also want to discuss about how do you increase prestige. But before we start talking about increasing prestige, I want to let you see what I mean by you will see different top champs than I see on mine. So I have now logged on to my mini account, Bud Bundy. I have myself, my main, friended. So I'm going to show you what I now see on my main account from my mini, meaning what other people see when they look at your account. So I'm going to look at the profile, and we're going to see I have 2 different champs in my top 4. So when you look at my account, these are the 4 champs you see. What I just showed you were the 4 champs that I see when I see my account. Again, so when you're looking at your account, you're seeing highest PI. Those are not necessarily your highest prestige champs. In fact, in my top 4, 2 of my top 4 PI, top power index champs, are not even in my top 4 prestige champs. That's why sometimes people are confused about why they're seeing different champs. For a long time before my Venom the Duck was awoke, he was shown as my top champ, but he would not show up on my profile when others would view my profile because of the discrepancy there in PI and prestige. And it can be quite confusing for people sometimes when that does happen. But again, so we did see on my profile, as far as my power index, both Venom the Duck and Doom were in my top 4. However, we also saw that my new R3, Guillotine 99, as well as Claire, Black Widow, were in my top 4, but you don't see them here because they're not in my top 4 prestige. That is why do not necessarily just assume that by going by your top champs listed in your profile or PI, that's going to increase your prestige, because it won't necessarily do that. And going into that, let's talk a bit about how do you increase your prestige. So, and do you really want to increase your prestige? So again, if you're going for higher levels, more competitive, you're going to have to start worrying a little bit about prestige, including higher alliances. One of the ways you can really look into the highest prestige champs in the game is going to side Aunt May, I believe is how it's pronounced, is a very popular one, and show a little shot on what you can see. You could see some of the top champs as far as prestige wise goes. Again, you're going to see some top high level prestige champs, some of the highest prestige champs in the game here. However, you might notice that some of them are very good champs like Doom. You might see some of the higher prestige champs like Phoenix or Thor Ragnarok aren't very good champs. And then you can also look, if you look at lower level prestige, you might see some great champs down in lower level prestige as well. So you could see some extremely good champs. You can see people like Magneto, Venom the Duck, Venom, a lot of extremely good champs, especially some of the older good champs, Hyperion, are going to have lower prestige. So keep that in mind. I mean, you might have to get to a point where you decide, do you want to rank up the best champs or the highest prestige champs? So how do you increase your prestige? First, if you are looking to increase your prestige, look at a list like this. Look at which champs you have, which are the highest prestige. Again, you're going to have to decide, do you want to go for champs you like or who you use the most or the best, or ones with higher prestige? Only do prestige rank ups if that is what you decided the route you want to go. I've always avoided doing that myself. My prestige will be much higher if I ranked up some of my high prestige champs. However, I'd rather use champs I have, and my prestige is respectable enough to begin with. So decide if you want to do that. If you are going for that route and you're at the level of the game where you can't afford to do rank ups for prestige, so rank up the champs with a high prestige. Look at that list like an MI. Look at these top champs of top prestige, like your Silver Surfers. You look at your Doom. You're going to need to rank them up max. Obviously, 6 stars are going to be higher prestige. But in addition to just having that prestige, they also going to be maxed out. You will notice 2 of my R3 6 stars in my account aren't even in my top prestige because neither of them are awoke. My Red Magneto is an R3 6 star. He's not in my top 5 because he's not awoke, so his prestige isn't high enough. And my Guillotine 99 is also not awoke, so it doesn't hit my top 5 for prestige. We see it hits the top 5 for my PI, but not my prestige. So you need to be awoke, and then you put in SIG. Basically use lists such as AMI or other ones to figure out who your highest prestige champs are, rank them up, max rank them up, and max SIG them. That will get you the max amount, again, using lists like that. But before you start doing that, really determine if it's something that you really want or need. So again, to kind of summarize, PI or power index, or the numbers we will see on these profiles or in your account, are not your prestige. However, it can give you a basic idea who some of your top champs are, but they will rotate based on different views, and based on your masteries will make a huge difference. Why you might see somebody with the Doom and you have a Doom, both are 5, but theirs has a higher PI than yours. That's because they might have suicides or something like that, which increases the PI. Does that mean they have higher prestige? Absolutely not. Only if they have a higher SIG than you. So, in summary, that's where we're at on really what prestige is. I hope this explains what it is, because I know there's a lot of confusion on that whole concept, and I hope this helps you understand if it's something you want to focus on. If you are trying to compete in higher level alliances, you will have to work on your prestige at some point. You're still at early levels of the game, you're still working on trying to make your champs a little bit better and beat content, then you might want to hold off on doing prestige rank ups. It's going to depend on each player, so evaluate everything I've discussed in the video and go from there on what's best for you. I hope this helped you. Don't forget to click that subscribe button, by the way, for MCOC, AlBundyRules.